Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m. West African time. So if you are in Nigeria or around any country within West Africa, it will be 1 p.m. Today, as promised, we're going to look at work, and particularly or particular reference to smart work. Now, over time, a number of us have tended to look down on work, or we've tended to have a misconception about what work is and how work should be done. So, as you join me this afternoon, I would like that we just share ideas as to what work is and what is expected of us when we talk about work. Let me say a big afternoon to Peter Genome Stephen. Thank you for coming online and thank you for your comments already. Now, I do expect that others will join online, and I also do expect that you may have questions or suggestions or additions to some of the things that I will be talking about. Now, I will encourage us to feel free to send out comments, to send out questions, to also do share this broadcast with other persons so that we can work as a team together and enjoy each other's presence. So please do join me or do remain with me as we enjoy this broadcast at this time. So do you have a misconception about work? What is your understanding of what work is? Okay, just like I've mentioned, a number of us have a misconception about what work is and what work is not. Today, I will try to debunk some of those misconceptions, and hopefully we can learn from what it means to work. And I know that a number of people will be watching, will probably be working, and probably have one complaint or the other concerning work. So today, as we look at this, and I would like to encourage you to just see and understand what work is. I used to have a misconception about work too. I used to think that work was unnecessary and that it came about because of the fall of man in the Garden of Eden and so on and so forth. And so every time I was given any job to do, I, out of laziness, neglected to do the work. I chose to ignore certain assignments and basically because my interpretation of life was that man should have been resting. You and I should constantly be resting every time of the day, every time of the year. Now, I have come to realize that that is a misconception, that is a falsehood. And again, there are so many people who are selling this falsehood around that can tend to mislead people. I remember many years ago in a church, I was there and someone was preaching. And he spoke about the fact that in the days of Moses, it was palatable to have a wilderness experience. That if you had wilderness experience, then you were considered spiritual. But that's because Jesus Christ has come and has left the earth and has conquered sin and death, that basically we didn't have need for work, or that if you went through any hardship, it was not necessary, or there was something wrong. And I held on to that teaching until I suffered for a long time and realized that that was falsehood and it should never have transpired in the first place. I should never have held on to that form of teaching in the first place. So that's how a number of us misconceive work. Now, as a young child, every time, or young man, every time my parents gave me work, I lazied around. I didn't like working. I remember one day when my mom was going to work and she asked that during a holiday, and she asked that I clean up the toilets and bathrooms within the house, being the eldest child. That was my assignment for the day. And that before she came back, she required that I mopped up the toilets and the bathroom. Now, as at that time, we had only two toilets and bathrooms. As at that time, only two toilets and bathrooms. So you would have thought it would have been easier for me to handle or to do. Now, I kept on playing until it was time for my mom to return. And I told myself, reminded myself to go do this cleaning. And the thought or the issues or the statement I made to myself was to convince myself that I would just be on the lookout for my mom. And that whenever I saw her from afar off, I would go to the bathroom, I would do what I was supposed to do, and thereafter I would have taken care of the assignment. But true to type, as fate would have it, I kept playing and didn't recognize or realize when she arrived back home. And I don't know, but I guess that she had a signal in her heart that I had not done anything concerning the toilet. She simply went into the toilet, perhaps to ease herself or to just convince herself whether I had done the work, and discovered that the toilets were unclean. And of course, she came out, scolded me for leaving the toilets unclean hours after she had recommended or hours after she had instructed that I should clean the toilet. Now, then she said to me, she's giving me one more chance, the last chance. She's going to see a friend and will return very soon. And before she came back, she had expected I would have mopped up the toilet, I would clean everything and ensure that the place was neat. But guess what? She went to the friend and came back and met me still playing where she left me after she had scolded me. Man, I do not need to tell you the rest. But just know that that day wasn't pleasant for me. It didn't end as a pleasant day for me. Why? Because a simple job, a simple work that I had been given to do, I had played with the work and I had been caught off guard on two occasions, and I knew that it was going to be, or well, I felt it on my body that day because it was truly terrible. So that's the attitude that I had towards work until I began to see and to understand that work was valuable and that I needed to do some more work. Because of that, every time then my dad took me to farm, I put in my best, I gave it all my energy, and today I hardly do stay without going to farm. That's how well that habit has been built into me. So you may have misconceptions about work, and some of the misconceptions that people have about work is that work is a necessary evil without any good. That's not true. That's not true. Work is good. Work is a good thing to do. In fact, long before man fell in the Garden of Eden, long before Adam fell, God had given him work to do. God had told him to tend the garden and to take care of it. Okay, so you cannot say that work is a necessary evil. Others equate work to sin, just like I stated earlier on. They think that the reason why we're working is because we have sinned against God. No, it's not because we have sinned. It's because God Himself understands the value of work and has given us the opportunity to exercise our skills and our abilities as far as work is concerned. Others say that rest is healthier than work, but I now know better that the more you work, the better exercised you are, the better your brain continues to function. So rest is not healthier than exercise. Of course, we are required to rest from time to time. The reason why we are required to rest is because we have worked. It's because we have worked. Our bodies, like motor vehicles, need to be recharged from time to time, need to be serviced from time to time, need to have some rest to carry us through. So that's the value of rest. But rest is not healthier than work. Again, some people say that the purpose of work is retirement. Never at all. Never at all. In fact, retirement should not be in man's agenda. You continue to work until the day that you rest finally from earth. Retirement should not be a part and parcel of your plan, part and parcel of your agenda. I laugh when people say 70-year-old, 80-year-old people should not work. That's not true. That's not true. Science has proved that we hardly use 10% of our brain cells, no matter how long we live. So if that is true and correct, why shouldn't old people or older persons continue to work? Retirement is not the essence of work. Those who have retired and have gone back to rest, go and check out their lives against those whom have retired and continue to work, or retired from one job and have continued to do other jobs. Go and find out. My dad is 73 this year, and every time people see us together, they continue to think he's my elder brother, but he's actually my dad. Two reasons. One is the fact that he looks younger than his age, okay? And the other reason is because he works hard every day. When I drive to the house and park my car and I'm sleeping, before I wake up from sleep in the morning, my dad would have even gotten up before me to go and clean the car. It's amazing to me. I've talked to him several times against it, but no, he sees it as a form of exercise for himself. So retirement is not the essence of work. To retire to receive pension is not why you work. No, there are other reasons why you work. Again, another misconception about work is the fact that people think that you can get something from nothing. It's not possible. Actually, those who do not work are not entitled to feed. They are not entitled to eat. Why? Because they have not contributed to the pot. They have not made provisions for anyone to have. Therefore, the essence of, or at least the notion of getting nothing from something or getting something from nothing is wrong. You cannot get something unless you have done something. Okay? So that's the some of the misconceptions. And of course, there could be so many other misconceptions about work that people have. But note that work is not as a result of sin. Work is not so you can retire. Work is not so that or you cannot get something from nothing. That is not doable. That's not possible. Every society that has developed is because a chunk of the society has risen up to work. Every underdeveloped society is a society that depends on other people, particularly government, to do things that they could ordinarily have done. It is not going to work. What are some of the benefits that we get when we work? Again, so one is that when you work, you build your self-confidence and your self-esteem. In our society today, in fact, we categorize ourselves based on the places that we work. Our egos are either improved or decreased by the kind of work that we do. Okay? That's wrong to categorize people by their jobs. Okay? But the bottom line is the fact that when you work, you build self-confidence and self-esteem. Your self-esteem is constantly high because you're working. You know that you are expending energy for self-development and for the development of everyone around you or your society at large. Another benefit of work is that it contributes to our happiness. People who work are constantly, okay, happier than those who do not work. Those who do not work get frustrated easily. Sometimes they explode at the slightest provocation, all because they do not work. And many times when they break out in frustration, people tend to look away from the fact that they do not work and try to make several suggestions as to why they need to take some drugs or take certain things. No. When jobs are provided for everybody, happiness is on the increase. How about the fact that when you work, you get rewarded financially? You get rewarded financially. Your finances increase and they go up high when you work. Work keeps you busy and so helps you to develop yourself. It gives you a sense of pride and personal achievement. So when you see people struggling to work, it is not for anything. It is because they want to feel personally successful. They want to get some level of pride. One of the issues with marriages is it happens when, or divorces happen when the man, particularly of the home, does not work. It doesn't matter how much the woman makes. Most of the time, she gets frustrated when the man does not work. Because you see, regardless of whatever theory you use, when God created man, He created us and wired us with specifics. So it doesn't matter what you say or do not say. Work is good and it helps you gain some sense of pride. So if you're a husband out there, go out and work. Again, of course, wives also have their own kind of works to do. Okay? All right? If you work, it enables you to fulfill purpose. Every one of us has been created for a purpose. Every one of us. It is working that enables you to achieve that purpose. It is work that enables you to understand what the purpose is and to attain the purpose. And of course, when you work, you polish your skills. You polish your skills. Your skills get better. Your skills get sharper. Your skills get smoother because they say practice makes perfect. And of course, good practice makes perfection. So, one, I've said, do not have a misconception about work. Two, note that work comes with great benefit for everyone. Great benefit for everyone, including you and I. Now, having said all this, let's look at what it means to work or to work smarter. Okay? Now, a number of us say or suggest that hard work is good. Well, I do not fault that because every work is entitled to a reward. Every work is entitled to a reward. But for you to get better rewards, you've got to work smarter rather than harder. What I mean is the fact that while you work hard, you've got to work smart over the way you work hard. So some of the hard workers are not the most paid in our society. Go back and find out. Bricklayers do not earn much more than lawyers. But when it comes to physical work, bricklayers do more of physical work than lawyers. Just the same thing as those who sweep the street do not earn more than medical doctors. Why? Because one works hard and smart, the other one just works hard. That's the truth. That's the big difference. So, if that be the case, how do we work smart? How do we work smart to ensure that whatever we do comes forth with a reward? The first suggestion I will make is number one, that you need a to-do list. A to-do list. Your to-do list will help you to focus on what you should do for the day. And I suggest, when I started to do the to-do list, I cramped in everything that I thought I could achieve within the day. And it mounted pressure over me. But over time, I realized that if I pencil down 2, 3, or at the most 5 things to do within a day, it was easier for me to do those things within the day. So the first thing is do a to-do list and ensure that the to-do list does not capture more than 5 items on the list. Let the list be within 3, but never at most 5. Because if you focus on those 3 tasks or 5 tasks within the day, the tendency is for you to achieve them and to achieve more. So for you to work smarter, you've got to first of all have a trim list or to-do list, because that will help you to achieve much within the day. Okay? Now, you must also know that what you must put on the list must be the critical tasks. Those critical tasks without which you cannot be said to be successful. Put them down and ensure that you strictly follow them within the day. That will help you to succeed. The second thing is to count your daily achievement as against the time spent in doing the achievement. And so one way to help you in measuring results instead of time is by generating a done list. Done. So the starting point is to have a to-do list. When you have a done list, it simply means that as you go through your to-do list, every time that you attain or achieve a goal, you strike it out or give it a plus for having achieved it. At evening, depending on whether you're an evening a morning worker or an evening worker, at your best time, sit down and go through the list and find out what you have achieved and what you have not achieved. And let me sound a word of caution at the moment. All right? That there are days that you put down just 2 things on your list and you're unable to achieve them. That's how life runs. There are days that you put 6 things on your list and you are able to achieve them and still have some more time to work. So do not be discouraged every time that you're unable to succeed in doing the things that you have set out to do. Simply rise up from the dust yourself off and move on. So to work smarter, 1, you need a to-do list. 2, you need a done list. The done list tells you what you've been able to achieve or attain within the day. That's what the done list does for you. The third thing, when you are attempting to work smarter, is to be positive. Be a positive thinker, someone with positive attitude. I have a quote here that says, people with good attitude take the initiative whenever they can. They willingly help a colleague in need. They pick up the slack when someone is off sick, and they make sure that their work is done to the highest standards. Why? Because they have a positive attitude. If you have positive attitude towards work, I tell you, you will work smarter than people who have negative attitudes towards work. When we began this broadcast, I told you from the onset, some of us have a misconception about work. And those misconceptions are actually negative. They are negative. And if you have a negative misconception about work, or you have a misconception about work generally, the tendency is for you to be slow at work, to be a sluggard at work. In fact, the tendency is to refuse work at all. So the third thing is to have a good attitude towards work. People with good attitude towards work Now, one other thing that we need to do to be a smart worker is to create a routine and stick to that routine. The reason being that when you carry out tasks without thinking much, you do them faster, you do them better, and every time you repeat them, you improve upon them. Every time you improve upon the job that you do, every time that you have a routine job or a routine assignment. So one way is to set out a routine and to stick to that routine. Because if you stick to that routine, it will help you achieve much within the shortest possible time. Again, ensure that you automate most of your work. When I was reading for this again and again, someone cited an example in an article I read about Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook. And he said that the reason why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same outfit over and over again is the fact that he has automated his mentality as far as fashion is concerned. Therefore, he does not need to wake up every morning to check or scan through his wardrobe to be able to decide which t-shirt to wear and which not to wear. Why? Because he's already programmed in his mind a t-shirt to wear and a pair of jeans to wear. So once he wakes up, nothing competes with that thought in his mind. He just simply, when he's taking his bath, he just simply goes to where the jeans and the t-shirt is and wears them. Why? Because he's automated his thinking as far as fashion is concerned. So for you to work smarter, you've got to automate your thinking, automate your work. Having created a routine, set that routine to automation, and you'll find out that you spend less time worrying about automated jobs than those that you have to repeat or do them manually. Again, one other factor that is important is to communicate as correctly and appropriately with people around you. Again, that is quite helpful. Quite helpful to constantly communicate with people and jobs, or well, with people and with persons generally around you. Sorry. When you do that, you eliminate unnecessary work and wasted time. When people know what you want and how you want it, you do not have time to go back to them, to be giving them fresh instructions all the time. It's not necessary to do so. So, automate your work, communicate with people, create a routine, and of course, enjoy your work. One other thing that I find funny now, a lot of us boast about being able to multitask. A lot of us boast about this. But in all honesty, let us ask, when you multitask, are you effective and efficient at doing what the things that you are multitasking about? So when you have 3-4 jobs to do, and you share your time, you share your concentration, you share your energy on those 3-4 tasks to do at the same time, do you give it your best? Do you pour out your heart towards achieving your goals? Do not multitask. The essence of being effective and the essence of working smarter is to concentrate and focus on a particular task, on a particular assignment, and give it your all, your 100%, and see how things will go well for you. It's like in a marriage. Again, I'm using the marriage example. Someone who is polygamous will not have himself doing the best for all the women. No. In comparison to anyone who is monogamous, when you spend your time, you spend your energy, you pour your concentration on a particular job, that you're doing, on a particular work that you're doing, the tendency is for you to score high. The tendency is for you to succeed high. The tendency is for you to achieve much within a time frame or a time span when you focus on that assignment that you're doing. So I urge you, do not multitask. Do not multitask. Because that way you will expend your energy, you will expend time running up and down, pursuing too many things at the same time without fulfilling anyone. Another way that you can work smart, all right, is to, whatever you do, find time to rest. Again, I said from the beginning that the essence of work is not to rest, but rest is necessary when you have worked. Because you see, a number of us work so hard that we do not find time to rest. And before long, we become stressful, physically, emotionally, behaviorally, and in all wise, we become stressful. And we begin to blow up or explode in people's faces when simple things that should not have provoked us are said or done. So whatever you do, find time to take break. Again, of course, that's why night is available. For me, incidentally, I take my breaks within the daytime and I work at night time. So I do much of my work during the night. Okay? By 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I'm still awake. And then maybe by 2:30 a.m. or 2 a.m., that's when I'm going to bed to rest. But I ensure that I rest. I ensure that when I feel burnt out, I take a break from everything that I do and just sit by myself to relax. Sometimes I engage in sports and exercise just to help me relieve the stress that has gathered up over my body or within my body. Because the tendency is, if you do not rest from stress, you will break down mentally or health-wise. So do not let anything break you down or damage your health. Make sure that you rest. Okay? One other way to work smart is to do the work that you love doing. I was chatting on WhatsApp less than an hour ago with a friend, all right? And she just simply saw my advert for this broadcast. And she sent back to me that right now she's enjoying what she does. She's enjoying what she does. If you enjoy what you do, you will work smarter. If you focus more on the work that you actually love doing, the tendency is for you to work smarter. You pour your energy, you pour your creativity, you pour your concentration on that job, and nothing distracts you. Why? Because you are doing what you love doing. There's a police warden around my house, okay? And this man, come rain, come sunshine, he's constantly out there controlling traffic. When he's tired, he takes a break, maybe 30 minutes break. Then he's back on the road and doing all that he can do with all of his strength. And I realize it is because he enjoys working. So from time to time, of course, I pass by, drop a few gifts for him, just to encourage him to continue to do more. If you enjoy or if you work at the things that you enjoy doing, the tendency is for you to work smarter and to work very well and effectively too. One other way to work smarter is to ensure that before the next day, you prepare your to-do list. So I've mentioned earlier on that you do your to-do list and make it slim. But the timing of doing your to-do list is also very important. I've got on my laptop the jobs that I should be doing within this week. And I've also created room for emergency works or assignments that may come in to the things that I do. But I ensure that before the start of every day, at the end of the last day, I plan for the day before. And I put down the things that are needed for me to achieve. And when I achieve them, I'll consider myself as being successful. And like I said earlier on, it doesn't have to be much. It can be 2, it can be 3 assignments that you set for yourself for the next day. When you wake up, you set out as doing them and you would achieve them. One other thing that has helped me to work well is that I meditate. The Bible is the best book I've ever read. For you, it may be something else. But for me, what I constantly do is to study the Bible again and again and meditate on the things that I read. They've been quite helpful, exceptionally helpful. And of course, regardless of your faith or religion, I would encourage you to pick up a Bible and read it and meditate on the things that he says without any judgment and feel how I feel or get the understanding that you can get from the Bible. Again, this is not preaching religion. I meditate daily. One other way to work smarter is to prioritize your work. So on your to-do list that you prepared the night before, you have 5 tasks that you want to achieve. Common sense will suggest that those 5 tasks, all right? Common sense will suggest that those 5 tasks are prioritized. So what you want to achieve the most comes first. And in order of priority, you set out those tasks and responsibilities the way that you want to achieve them, the way that you want to attain them. Learn to prioritize. Learn to prioritize. So let me pause at this time to check out a few comments about this broadcast or about this teaching. I'll be posting out your comments as they come on. So let's see. Ayuba Barrow says, nice one, sir. Thank you so much. Now, Hundung Pam, thank you also. Very well said. Thank you so much. So if you have questions, just post them in. If you have comments, send them in. If you have suggestions, I would love to see them because it's quite important for us as we do this broadcast. So keep your comments coming in. Keep your following known to me. All right? Thank you. Now, like I was saying, you've got to learn to prioritize. Again, one way to work smarter is to learn to reward yourself. Learn to reward yourself. In the sense that when you reward yourself, you will achieve much. Okay? When you reward yourself, you have set a target to reward yourself. Therefore, you would want to do more within the time. You want to do more within the time that you've set for yourself. Now, if you reward yourself, the tendency is for you to want to always go back to ensure that you do things well so that you can get a reward for the things that you have done. Okay? I'm getting a message on my mobile phone from someone who is following the broadcast. Thank you for your comments. It would seem that you are on YouTube. You are not following on Facebook. So I'm doing a simultaneous broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook. Okay? So please follow on YouTube and also follow on Facebook if you can, depending on which is smoother for you. Now, again, one way to work smarter is to set workday goals. Everyone knows how to set goals. However, not everyone understands why setting workday goals is necessary. Now, you see, goals trigger our behavior, they sustain our momentum, they promote self-mastery, self-discipline. And so once you set goals for yourself to be achieved within a particular day, the tendency is for you to be on the high. The tendency is for you to drive yourself to high speed. All right. So sorry, I'm responding to the person who is sending this message, and I'm also sending back a message. So let me focus on this to be able to know what I'm doing. So, like I said, when you set work day goals, and then you tell yourself at the end of work, I should do 1, 2, 3, 4 at such time. So this time you are not just setting the goals, you are setting the time to which you want to attain and achieve the goals. If that is your case, okay? If that is your case, the tendency is for you to work smarter and to achieve much. What other things can you do to work smarter? One other thing is to get very organized. Very, very organized. Now, and when I say get organized, I'm not just talking about getting organized in terms of the particular work that you want to do. I'm talking about your entire life. Okay? I'm talking about your entire life. So get organized as far as your entire life is concerned. Know where your clothes are, where your shoes are in your bedroom. That is if you keep them in your bedroom. Know where your bags are, know where your books are. Get your books on the shelf. And even on the shelf, organize them according to the topics or according to the authors, so that when you come searching, it becomes easier for you to search. But when you get disorganized, you take more time trying to achieve any small job that you need to do. And it used to happen to me until I started to create files on my laptop, to create physical files where I can lodge in papers or write-ups that I've cut out of magazines or newspapers. So, and then label the topics on each file. So when I come, I just go to the file to check. That's the advantage of being organized. But a number of us are not organized, and that makes us not to work smart. So we end up working hard, but we're not working smart. And like I said from the beginning, there is a huge difference between working smart and working hard. The hard workers do not get as much paid as those who work smart. Okay? And of course, with the lockdown regarding Corona, depending on where you are in the world, okay, we found out the difference. Those who have adapted their works to the internet seem to be working consistently and working smarter. Most of the international organizations in Nigeria are still within the lockdown, and yet they are doing more work than a number of us who drive back and forth to the office on a daily basis. Why? Because they are organized and they are working smarter. So get organized. Streamline your life. Note who your friends are and who your friends are not. That helps you to become organized. When you have a TV program to watch, set it on a timer such that once time for work, once time for that program starts, you are before the TV or the TV reminds you, you go back to sit down and you watch. And once you are through, you move on. So organized people work smarter, and it is necessary that you organize yourself. Of course, to work smarter, you've got to have control of your time. You've got to be able to program your timing such that everything falls in pleasant places for you. People who have firm control of their time are able to control their own lives. Just on Saturday, I talked about self-discipline. And one essence of self-discipline is to be able to discipline your time, yourself in terms of the use of time. So for you to work smarter, you've got to be able to control your time. Time waits for no one. Time cannot be reversed. Therefore, you've got to maximize your time. Maximize your time. And if you do that, you'll find yourself working smarter. For the whole of today, I've got only 3 assignments scheduled down for today, and this is one of the assignments. An hour after this, I will hold another meeting. If the persons I'm to hold the meeting with come in 10 minutes late, I will not extend the 10 minutes. I will end up when we're supposed to end up, so I can attend to other things. So for you to work smart, you've got to be able to control your time. Again, learn to block your calendar. Too many times, when you start working and people come and seek for your help or for your assistance, they look at your calendar and see the gaps within and try to fit or smuggle themselves within those empty days. Well, you may have had some schedules on those empty days, but do not have them on the calendar. You do not blame, or you cannot blame people for wanting to take advantage of just empty days and schedules. So for you to do well, for you to work smart, block those days on the calendar. Ensure that your time, or you give time to only the things that are required of you to do as dictated by your calendar. And one other way to also work smarter is to have the ability to say no. To say no. When you are good at things, people consistently seek for your attention. I was watching a Miles Monroe CD one time, and he said at the beginning of the year, he had gotten well over 6,000 or so, 6,000 invitations from people he's never met. Now, for some of us, we may say, well, that's good and that he should take all. But he knows, all right, that there are only 365 days in a year. And that if you needed to talk every day of your life, there will not be sufficient days for you to talk, because all of the days would have been taken. But of course, there are instances where he had to say no. The reason being that he wasn't saying no because they were not going to pay. They were going to pay, but saying no was so that he could have time for rest, he could have time for study, he could have time for his family, he could have time for friends, he could have time for socializing. So for you to work smart, you've got to learn, or you've got to get the ability to say no. You must be able to say no to the good things so that the best will come your way. The next I read in an article which says manage up. And by manage up, they meant you learn to manage the people who are managing you, your managers up there. And they say managing up is the best way to get what you want and fast. If you find this, it includes anticipating your boss needs, supporting their weaknesses, and keeping them overly informed. In other words, you're managing yourself and managing the people that are above you. That's what it means to manage up. So you must learn not just to manage yourself, you must learn to manage everyone around you so that everything conforms to your program, everything conforms to your calendar, everything conforms to your agenda. Anticipate distractions and take control of the distractions before they happen. Again, as we gradually come to an end, the next is to take care of yourself. So, take care of yourself. This is not only essential for your mental health, it is also good for your physical health. We talked about rest. While resting, take care of yourself. While resting, do not run helter-skelter. We've got a popular saying in Hausa in this part of the world, okay, that when they see someone, there's a particular way someone rests, and they say he rests like the donkey who has load on his back. So sometimes you see the donkey with loads on his back. It is not walking, it is standing still, yet the load is on its back. So you cannot actually say that it is resting. And so I encourage you, when you rest, rest well. Okay? When you rest, rest well and take care of yourself. Ensure I would like to thank you for joining me today, and thank you for your time. And I hope that that we've shared with you, and I pray that you will sit down, go back through this, understand the things that I've talked about when it comes to work. But as I round up, let me say that it is better you work than remaining idle, because the person who does not work is not entitled to pay, is not entitled to food. Though there has been a lockdown across the globe, yet in spite of the lockdown, those who have known the value of work have continued to work even in their homes and houses. So I encourage you to fall in love with work so you can fulfill your God-given purpose. Thank you, and do have a very pleasant day, even as we come to the end of this broadcast. Again, for everyone who has made a comment, Raphael Sylvester, Dave Masaka, Peter Genome Stevens, Ayuba Barrow, Hundu Pam, and a host of others. Thank you so much for coming on the broadcast. Thank you also for sharing your time with me. See you on Saturday at 12 noon. You can join me on Facebook or on YouTube as I take on other things. I'm hoping to talk about mentoring on Saturday. Mentoring, that part of leadership that we've ignored or has been ignored by so many people. Have a good day, and thank you.